Here we go. If I concentrate just right, we'll be exactly where I want to be.
The name's Buzzsaw.
No more suit testing. It's yours.
Yeah.
Wait. No, you actually found them.
Oh, no.
Oh,
If it wasn't for you misspelling the word
how did we end up
Viking, I never would
here?
have stumbled on them.
In December of 2021, DreamWorks made the abysmal decision to continue How to Train Your Dragon. For all of its faults, The Hidden World was still a pretty good, satisfying conclusion to the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. And all things considered, it is still to me. I mentioned this before in a previous video, Dragons: The Nine Realms, as hard as it tries not to be, is so detached from the original trilogy that it's honestly pretty easy to ignore in general. It's kinda like Dragon Ball GT. It has its fans, sure, but it's still garbage, and the less I think about it, the better.
Get all of the food, throw it in the pot. They are right out in the open. Jimmy, take the shot.
However, we've reached a new precedent with Dragons: The Nine Realms. It's effectively over now. I've made 5 videos on this show already, and frankly, I am just getting exhausted talking about the same problems over and over again. But last season was kind of an unofficial series finale for the show. I mean, think about it. The adults know about the dragons, Thunder found his family, and Tom has learned about his connections to Hiccup Haddock. Sure, Buzzsaw's still a thing, but
Buzzsaw is just like a crackhead in the hidden world. No one cares about him.
like I've said in 5 whole videos now, it's just more of the same problems with little to no improvement. I gave Season 5 credit for being somewhat entertaining in a so bad it's good kind of way, but by then, the question still remained. What else is there to do in Dragons: The Nine Realms? Well, I guess we'll find out after this video sponsor, nobody! Huh, that's funny. I usually get a sponsor for these Nine Realms videos. They often do well. Huh. Well, in that case, support me on Patreon! That way you guys can be my sponsor! Pay me like one of your French boys. I'll be your canvas. So yeah, Season 6 is just more proof that the show is already dead. I mean, the show's existence was already the franchise jumping the shark, but we've seen this show jump the shark like, what, twice in itself already? From having stupid characters, to having ugly animation, to just doing everything in your power to insult the original trilogy. But I guess that Buzzsaw plotline has to be wrapped up. And also, I guess Namari from Raya and the Last Dragon is also going to be a problem now, so I guess that's 2 plot lines that still need to get wrapped up before we can officially end this shit. Honestly, I can't help but get the feeling that even the writers are getting sick of this show, because, like, what else is there to do? So at this point, they don't even bother trying to explore what little things they could be doing that, honestly, could have been an interesting thing to explore. Take episode 1, for example. Taking place about a month after the end of season 5, the dragons have now somewhat assimilated to human society. Now, that would be an interesting thing to focus on for the entire season. So of course we barely even see it in this one episode alone. Yeah, it's there, and we do see how much trouble the dragons are causing the people, and by see it, I mean of course just have everyone talk about the things that the dragons are doing.
The dragons seem to have trampled through our garden.
Tom, can you do something about that?
Wow, that sounds like a really shitty situation. And a funny one. I wish we would have seen it. But no, instead most of the episode is Tom going into a new realm, because it wouldn't be the 9 realms without another realm, now wouldn't it? Sorry, but from what we do see in the show, the dragons are just more like pests rather than an actual problem. Oh no, the dragons trampled over my garden. Oh no, the dragons won't stop making noises. Boo-hoo, you're lucky they don't melt your faces off and then proceed to slurp it up like a sundae. I feel like you could have easily made the situation way more dire to where you both understand and even relate with these people. You know, kind of like in Riders of Berk. In Riders of Berk, that was the focus of the entire season, trying to get humans and dragons to live together in harmony. In that show, they emphasized just how difficult of a struggle that would be for the writers, not just because of the pre-existing tension between both sides, but also the fact that they're still fire-breathing dragons. It didn't stop with small petty shit like, oh no, they trampled my garden. It started with, oh no, they burnt my fucking house down. Which, yeah, that's a real problem. They spent multiple episodes on this issue because of how hard it would genuinely be to establish peace between both sides, from dealing with Mildew's petty schemes to believing that Thor himself was mad about the whole thing. It was uneasy, but they didn't stop there. They also acknowledged the cultural shift that such a big change would cause, like Gabber being out of a job as a blacksmith and turning into a dentist. I get not wanting to just redo what you did already, even though you are technically, but in a modern setting, you can easily innovate and do something different, like have the dragons mess with the technology that's around the base, have them destroy a house or something. Show us the actual tension between both sides and emphasize that the consequences could have been serious. But, as it is, everyone's complaints are just coming across as both petty and annoyed. Like the dragons are less dangerous animals that shouldn't be fucked with, and more like a dog who isn't potty trained. Sorry that I don't feel bad for them being inconvenienced like this. It's not interesting, it's just boring. And of course, this is the only episode in the entire season that actually focuses on Icarus and the dragon's relationship. Sure, the adults do bring it up in later episodes, but it mainly involves Namari being a bitch, which I'll come to later. This is the only episode where that tension between both sides is actually the center conflict of the episode. The rest of the show is honestly just more of the same stuff we've been getting. Tom and his friends go on adventures in a new realm. They fight Buzzsaw for the up-team time. They discover new dragons. It's almost like the humans didn't even discover dragons after all, which honestly doesn't surprise me as much as it should. Speaking of Tom, this is such a perplexing character to me. Like, how many times is he gonna undergo the same goddamn character arc? Tom has learned to trust others and let people in his world like, what, 5 times now? This is a testament of one of two things. Either Tom is A, the most boring character in the world who is only capable of one single character arc and nothing else, or B, he is the stupidest character in the world since he keeps forgetting his own goddamn development. So the group realizes that something's going on in the hidden world that's causing the dragons to come to the surface. So Tom's dumbass decides he's gotta go by himself because he's got a character arc to redo for the 14th time. While that's going on, the other writers are actually getting annoyed by Tom getting another character arc. Prince Charles V is like, dude, why is everyone obsessing over Tom? Why don't we get character arcs?
No, could use some character development.
Tom, Olivia's brat. Me! So Tom goes into the hidden world and finds what I guess is the actual Jotunheim, or the Land of Giants, which means I guess Thunder's home is another realm itself. Looking back on it, considering how dwarfed the main characters and the Nightlights were to that biome and the snow race, I think it might be safe to assume that was actually Svartalheim, the land of dwarfs, which means that Helheim is all that's left. It'll be a hell of a finale if you know what I mean. So Thunder gets shot down by some deadly natters, which I will admit, do look pretty cool with that color coordination. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty nice.
I don't think I could do it, pal. I can't do any of this anymore. Maybe Hiccup could do it, but I am not a Viking. I'm not a chief. I'm just Tom.
Gee, that dialogue didn't sound forced or tailored to be specifically about the original franchise. It came out so naturally and realistically, and oh my god, this is so fucking dumb, I wanna die.
What?
Holy fuck! Is Tom actually fighting a dragon to defend himself and Thunder? Well, I thought that was morally reprehensible to do! You can't hurt dragons no matter what they do! At least that's what this show's taught me. Oh, but you thought that dialogue was forced and tailored to be specifically about the original franchise? Well, how about Thunder just pulling out of his ass that lightning thing that Toothless did in the 3rd movie? Yep, just out of nowhere. It had no build up to it whatsoever, and I'm not even surprised that he did it because, well, the movies did it, so why not? If anything, I'm surprised it took this long for it to finally happen.
How did you do that? There were 3 of them and you just went like full alpha.
Fuck you!
So while all that's going on, the others are proving just how valuable they are. Again.
So, I'm not a very good leader. I've been trying to live up to this Dragon Whisperer legacy, chasing a ghost from the past. I'm sorry for how I've been acting. I hope you can forgive me.
We get it.
I'm sure it's really hard whispering to dragons.
Wait, we're forgiving him?
How many free passes does this group hand out?
Honestly, I'm with Charles on this one. This is getting ridiculous.
Wait, we're forgiving him? How many free passes does this group hand out?
Episode 2. Honestly, not a whole lot to say about this one because it is fine. It's perfectly serviceable. D'Angelo actually gets an episode to himself, which, like, damn, when was the last time our boy got an episode about himself? Like, season 3? Oh, it was. And I thought Wasabi was useless. He's supposed to be the doctor, arguably the most important member of the team, and yet he's done nothing for like 3 seasons up till now. And the episode he gets is a boring filler episode. How deserved. Meanwhile, our Queen Alex still doesn't get an episode this season. Seriously, DreamWorks, NATO is knocking on your door right now. Finland just joined NATO, and you don't want to fuck with Finland, okay? Russia doesn't fuck with Finland. 2 words, bitches. Simo Heiha. Look him up. So yeah, in this episode, the adults all have to go away to some meeting that's off base and aren't allowed to have their dragons out for some reason. Yeah, you figure by now the adults would fully trust the dragons, but no, the kids aren't allowed to use them because fuck it. We gotta have some reason for D'Angelo to be a real Karen this whole episode. So Charles V brings up the dragons and everyone's actually cool with it except for D'Angelo. So yeah, it's more of a D'Angelo and Charles episode. A real 2 opposites working together and learning about each other kind of thing. It's pretty typical in terms of execution, which for this show means it's honestly pretty boring. So the dragons just out of nowhere start chasing a random sheep, even though they've never done this before in the show, so this feels very contrived, and it ends with D'Angelo and Charles getting locked inside of the hangar bay with their dragons. And yeah, everything you think will happen happens. Charles V is an idiot who can never be the one at fault. D'Angelo is super uptight and doesn't trust Charles. Eventually, Charles convinces him to break a rule, which actually succeeds. Charles takes the fall for everything so D'Angelo doesn't get in trouble. You've seen this a million times and it is nothing special. I guess it's nice to see Charles get the development that he was asking for, but it's kind of hard to get behind him when he's been such an insufferable asshole the whole time. D'Angelo is 100% correct in this entire episode. He is not wrong at all. Episode 3! Okay, so Audrey's probably gonna kill me for this one, but I think this was the best episode in the season. And it's about June.
All right, you psychopath. I've been waiting years for this. I hate you. I've always hated you.
Yeah, if it's any consolation, I'm just as surprised as you are. This episode was actually pretty solid overall. You actually kind of relate with June a bit in this episode. She doesn't come off as whiny or irritable this time around. Her frustration is actually very understandable. Namari is actually a good antagonist. She sees how June is frustrated with her mom who won't give her any time to listen to her, and she then exploits that in order to mine some more of that dragon sight. But it's insane how Namari and June have a far more established connection as a protagonist and antagonist than Tom and Buzzsaw have in 3 seasons since they've met. They have a connection when it comes to admiring stories and various histories and cultures, and Namari knows this. We know she's up to no good as it was shown in the end of episode 1, but that's a good thing because now there's actual suspense. We still don't exactly know what the dragon sight does at this point, so anything can really go in this situation, and June would have every reason to blame herself in case a person or a dragon got hurt. For the first time in the show, in all 6 seasons, there's actually some compelling writing going on here. I was actually invested in what was going on with our main characters, and I genuinely didn't know what would come next. Now, keep in mind, it's not astonishing or anything. This episode's still like a 7 out of 10, which for this show is insane. There's still some problems here and there for sure. For starters, did anyone else notice that the animation in this episode was a little off in some places? Some of these facial expressions were just really over the top, even by this show standards. I'm using this one in the thumbnail. It's too funny not to. Charles is still a fucking idiot, and honestly, so is Tom and Alex, since they should know better by now, and should have checked that damn picture he took before they left. Hell, why didn't one of them just take the picture? Why'd they ask Charles to do it? Hate to be mean to my queen, but it's true. Also, Linda was a part of experimental tests that saw the torture of living creatures in this episode, which basically means I called this shit before anyone else even ever realized it. Linda is a Nazi. I knew the whole time. You may have thought of it as just some weird off-color joke I was making, but now it's confirmed. I am vindicated. Admittedly, I thought it was kinda sweet to see June's mom finally acknowledge her at the end of the episode and realize Namari was full of shit. It was actually kind of a relief. Any other show would have had June's mom side with Namari for whatever contrived reason, but they didn't do that, which was actually nice. Like I said, this episode was actually good. Like, I was invested, the threat felt real, nothing was that bad. It was a genuinely good episode. In fact, dare I say it, it's one of the best episodes in the entire show. Like, seriously, color me impressed. I'm sure Audrey will kill me for saying that this episode where June was the main character is one of the best, but I can't help it. I'm genuinely shook. Episode 4. It was okay. Just felt more like the typical fantasy adventure stuff we've been getting from this show. They explore a new realm and see all this neat giant stuff, like this giant slug that's never brought up again after this episode, or this one dragon that's so big and monstrous, we only get to see its shadow and nothing else. The stuff with Charles V and Webmaster was actually pretty good, but it just frustrates me how inconsistent his character can be overall throughout the show. Like I said in my Season 4 video, he went from being one of the worst characters to like the second best. But with that being said, his development has been rather spotty at best. In one episode, you can actually relate with him and feel for his struggle to try and fit in with the others, but in other episodes, you wonder why they even tolerate him because he's such a huge jackass. I get that he's comic relief, but it's just obnoxious. Sure, watching him open up and try and get his dragon back was nice and all, but why do I have the feeling that this isn't going to be relevant again anytime soon? The writers are just going to forget this development because they've done it before, and it sucks to say because this is actually pretty good stuff. Seeing the Death Grippers again was pretty cool. They always had badass designs, and to see an orange one over there really won me over instantly. Like, not gonna lie, it's just pretty cool. Not to mention, we got probably the funniest moment in the entire show.
Yo! Yo, holy shit, he dead! Oh, he dead for sure!
Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
Did you guys hear that? It sounded like granola cereal.
See, even our queen agrees. I don't know, maybe it was a little better than okay. Definitely one of the stronger episodes, but I feel like it's still weighed down by Charles's inconsistency, which is a shame admittedly. You can tell the writers actually like this character a lot since he's been getting episodes ever since season 3. Meanwhile, our queen has gone episode hungry for 2 seasons now, but Charles got 2 of them this season? The fuck makes him so special? Episode 5. Oh man. Just when you were thinking this show was actually on the right track, leave it to episode 5 to just fuck it all up. This episode's fucking stupid. Just a bunch of dumb Looney Tunes ass shenanigans. So Namari, because she was experimenting on animals, gets put on suspension.
I wish I could talk to your manager. I'm a mom, I am the manager.
But the writers soon find out that she's been sneaking out in order to get more dragon sight. Now, why does she need more of it when she's already got a bunch of it already? Why can't she just work with what she's got? Well, maybe she just gets high on the rocks. I don't fucking know. We wouldn't have a conflict if she just kept working with the stuff she's already got, now would we? So, what does she decide to do? She starts taking explosives down to the hidden world to try and excavate it.
What?
Which is dumb. You're gonna destroy the dragon sight, you dumbass! God, it's just like the villain from that German Tarzan movie I reviewed. Who cares about common sense when the story needs an antagonist? You can find the dragon sight right in the open apparently, so why do you even need a mine for it? What, you need a mine for apples too? Oh, but trust me, she gets stupider. So eventually the writers catch her in the act of placing explosives in a cavern, and what does she threaten to do? She threatens to blow herself up! Yeah, I'm dead serious. She's actually willing to kill herself in order to get these fucking rocks that she already has a smorgasbord of already. Yeah, it's just a threat to kids, but she's literally standing like 2 feet away. Like, lady, maybe back up a bit so your threat doesn't make you look nuts. Honestly, I'd expect this level of stupidity from Tom of all people. Oh, okay, yep, see what I mean? Tom is actively wrestling her for control over the trigger of an explosive device that is literally 2 fucking feet away.
Skip it up and down.
How is Linda somehow the smartest character in the whole room right now? This would be a question I'd be asking by season 6, wouldn't it? So, somehow the explosive only traps the riders for some reason. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not how cave-ins work. They would all be trapped, which would actually be a way more interesting plot if they were all stuck together and had to work together in order to survive. But no, only our main characters are trapped because plot. I guess it was kind of nice seeing Namari show actual regret for what she thought was their deaths. You know, for her to show some actual depth to her character, but it sadly doesn't go anywhere, and then she goes right back to being a world-renowned geologist. Yeah, take a shot every fucking time she says that. You'll be blitzed off your ass by the end of the episode.
You don't know how I feel. You're just a child. I'm a world-renowned scientist. I'm a world-renowned scientist, and I do not deserve this kind of harassment. Director Wong, I am a world-renowned geologist and was...
But somehow everything I've said so far was not the dumbest thing. The dumbest part comes with this. So, there's a security camera placed in front of Namari's house, which means she can't just leave whenever she wants to. How come the cameras are only just now being plot relevant and never caught the dragons when they were running around before? Try not to think about it, dipshit. But anyway, in order to go down into the hidden world, guess what Namari had to do? She used the back door since it wasn't shown to have a camera on it. Ha! I'm just kidding, that's what someone with common sense would do. Instead, she dug a fucking hole to China in her living room. A big ass fucking hole that she's been climbing in and out of. How did she dig this hole without any fancy equipment? How did she expect to keep experimenting on the dragon side without any access to her lab? How did Linda not just fall straight through the rug the moment she stepped on it? What was anybody thinking when writing this shit? So many questions that frankly aren't even worth answering because life is just too important. What even happened here? You guys actually made Namari a fun antagonist to watch in episode 3. She was actually pretty clever and knew how to exploit our main character's insecurities to her benefit. She was actually intelligent. Which isn't saying a lot for the show, but it was still actually good. But now, she looks like a fucking lunatic, threatening to blow herself up over some rocks that she can find outside and digging a hole to China. Also, she manages to escape the room despite there being 8 people in it. Sure, 5 of them are only teenagers, but Tom alone gave her some trouble back in the cave. She's not a strong woman. She pretty much just walked out and no one stopped her. Oh, and I guess Linda went with her too and was also able to escape. Like, this is so dumb. Ugh. I honestly don't think this is the stupidest thing I've seen in the show so far, but damn is it stupid. It's easily up there. I just can't believe they actually had something good going on here, and then they just completely fucked it up. Actually, I can totally believe it. This is easily the worst episode in the whole season. Also, my condolences to everyone who was hoping for Tom and Alex to become a thing. This episode pretty much confirmed what we already feared. Tom and June are officially crushing on each other, and it is super cringe.
We had fun together when we were little.
Yeah, we totally did.
Totally.
Episode 6! Hey, remember that logging company? Remember how that was what Buzzsaw wanted to avenge in the first place? Remember? I think me, Audrey, and Ember Nexus are the only ones who remember because these writers have clearly forgotten about it. It's weird how it was never brought up again in any meaningful way. But no, Buzzsaw instead wants to become the King of Dragons for no established reason 6 seasons in. I've already talked about how he fundamentally fails as an antagonist as he has no actual connection to any of our main characters. He's just a bumbling dipshit who only succeeds with his plans because our main characters happen to be dumber than he is. I bring this up because other than that, this episode's actually okay too. So Buzzsaw actually comes up with a half-decent plan and uses poison to take Thunder down. Even though it's not poison, it's venom.
That little dart in the lightning bird's side is coated in poison.
Poison is ingested, venom is injected. Who am I kidding? Of course Buzzsaw would make that mistake. He then tells Tom to give him the Book of Dragons in exchange for the antidote. It's actually kind of suspenseful watching D'Angelo try to come up with his own antidote and Tom struggling to trust him when there's not a lot of time on the clock. The drama actually feels earned for once. When D'Angelo blames himself for the antidote not working, you actually feel for him. You know he tried his best and it wasn't his fault that it didn't work. And while I was expecting Buzzsaw to have just lied about the antidote and it not really existing, I actually wasn't expecting what the antidote would turn out to be. It was a nice surprise. There is, however, one other issue I have with this episode. Where the fuck are the parents at? Like, seriously, they know about the dragons now, and yet they're still never around. Like, I'm pretty sure some of the grown-ups could have helped Thunder out, right? And if not, shouldn't the adults be learning about this kind of stuff now in case the kids are all fucking around in another realm without them realizing it? Yeah, these parents are fucking trash. I know I've talked about this earlier, but seriously, if there was ever a time for the adults to come in and adult, This was the fucking time. And yet they're never even mentioned. It never once crosses any of their minds to go get their parents for help. Medical scientists? Anyone?
Not even once.
Also, the final shot of this episode is so fucking dumb. So, remember how we all pretty much called out Buzzsaw for what he was, a Dagger ripoff? Well, the writers have officially admitted to it. We see Dagger in the Book of Dragons, and Buzzsaw is impressed by him and wants to be like him. Hey writers, you do realize that this isn't cute, right? Admitting to your awful idea doesn't make it any less awful, fun fact. It's still insanely lazy, and not to mention just plain stupid. But whatever, Buzzsaw's got the Book of Dragons now, and he's gonna do shit with it, as expected. Episode 7, the final episode of this season, thank God. Weirdly enough, this episode doesn't feel like a season finale. Every season finale beforehand, as awful as they often were, at least felt like finales. There was always a giant battle of some kind with a dragon that threatened our main characters and their home. In Season 1, there was the Fault Ripper that threatened Icarus. In Season 2, the Skrill had beef with Thunder's family, so there was some weight to that fight. In Season 3, there was the Sky Torture, which threatened all of the dragons in the Hidden World. And in Season 4, the Snow Race were attacking Thunder's family. Season 5 didn't have a battle, surprisingly, but the episode still led up to the reveal of the dragons to the adults. Every finale up to this point had some weight to it that felt like something was being concluded, like finishing a chapter of a book. But this one felt just like any other episode and nothing special. If anything, the previous episode felt more like a finale since Buzzsaw got the Book of Dragons and now poses a greater threat thanks to it. It really feels like this season was supposed to be 6 episodes instead of 7, but DreamWorks said, fuck it, who cares if the finale has no actual weight to it? This show was supposed to end last season anyway. Why are we even still keeping it going when just about everyone who's seen it hates it? Who knows? Is this show even making money? I know it's not costing money, but still. So in this episode, Buzzsaw captures a new dragon called the Octofin, and I'm just gonna say it now, it's a cool looking dragon. If this show has given us anything, it's some cool new dragons. I like the crocodile octopus aesthetic it's got going on, and its tail is really cool too. All around, cool dragon. Episode gets a point for a cool dragon. Anyway, Buzzsaw captures the Octofin and has it tied up. The riders show up to save it, and Buzzsaw just drops it into the ocean so he can get away. The entire episode from then on is just the riders trying to save the Octofin, which is all tied up. So again, instead of just asking for their parents to help them in this situation, the riders decide to just steal their parents' bathysphere.
You could just ask my dad to borrow it. He might say yes. But then you'll have to explain why we still haven't mentioned the hatchet-wielding lunatic that lives in the realms.
Yeah, our folks might think twice about letting us go down there.
Wait, that's the reason the parents aren't involved yet? Because of Buzzsaw? Wait, why haven't you told them about Buzzsaw yet? I mean, no offense, but I think the fire-breathing dragons you're riding on are 10 times more deadly than some lunatic with a hatchet. If they trust you with dragons, then surely he won't matter that much, right? What was the whole fucking point of Season 5 if you kids are just gonna keep ignoring your parents? Also, what the fuck is up with Mary's eye right here? Like, seriously, what's with that lazy eye?
If you're all going to pretend, you might as well pretend to be students and learn something.
Really? I thought they already were pretending.
I've finally lost what little patience I have. First, the lightning bird burns down my lumber company.
Holy shit, he actually brought up the logging company! Well, I guess the writers did remember for a fraction of a second. Good for them. So while rescuing the Octofin, Tom, June, and D'Angelo are attacked by a shellfire and sink to the bottom of the ocean, lake, river, whatever the fuck this thing is, with no way of Alex and Charles getting to them or communicating with them. So, I know this isn't anyone's fault at DreamWorks. Talk about really bad timing for this episode's release, huh? Yeah. So they save the Octofin, but the shellfire then attacks it, leaving it to the other dragons to come and save them. Why they couldn't just do that earlier is beyond me. Also pretty sure that's not how lightning works. The Octofin and all the other dragons would be fried too.
It's time we came clean about Buzzsaw. We can't keep telling our parents half the truth. You're right. When we get back, we'll let them know.
We really needed a whole other season for our main characters to learn this lesson. Who am I kidding? It's not even the first time we've been through this, especially in Tom's case. But then we get the last minute of the episode, where Buzzsaw actually attacks Icarus and tells everyone who he is. So, if you saw the trailer for this season, you'll see how hyped up of a moment this was.
I'm the king of dragons!
Let's do this, riders.
It's over, Buzzsaw!
I hate this channel.
And yet, it's the literal last minute of the season. We don't get to see the attack. We don't get a fight or anything. The season just ends with that. Talk about false advertising. They were building it up like this was going to be a big thing for this season, but it's not. Sure, it leads into the next season, but we're talking about the trailer for this season. You could have done a whole episode about Buzzsaw attacking Icarus, but no. Instead, the attack happens off screen! No one's actually hurt, and you actually expect me to be invested when there's no actual build-up or payoff to this moment? What do you think this is, Rise of Skywalker? Actually, that's not a bad comparison, is it? A hopeless, awful sequel to something great that had no planning put into it whatsoever and thought it could just have some epic finale without any of the effort needed to make it work. What a sick joke.
Looking out at your shocked faces, I see my presence comes as a surprise. Guess your kids don't tell you everything.
Oh my god, the dialogue is so on the nose that it's painful. Who the fuck talks like that? Can we just end this season already, please? Thank you. Also, side note, does anyone else feel like the concept art that you see during the end credits is actually worse looking this time around? It's not even decent, it just looks ugly. I get that concept art is just that, but the concept art looked good in the past. Hell, at times, it actually looked better than the final product. This is just hard to look at. Thunder looks more inbred than ever before. Ugh. Well, this was a mixed bag. Some parts were exactly what I thought it was going to be, while other parts genuinely surprised me. Would I say it was actually good? No way. Not in a million years, no. But it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Remember how I suggested this show should have been from the very beginning? How Icarus should have always known about the dragons from the very start? And should have been called Razor Core? Yeah, I'm sticking with that idea. It feels like with this season, the writers are kind of trying to bank off of that idea, while also sticking to the status quo of what the show still is. The parents now know about the dragons, but they still have practically zero impact on anything. The kids still just venture off in the new realms as if nothing's changed. The only adult that actually mattered this whole season was Namari, and she ended up being both the best and worst part of the season. At least I'm gonna remember what they did with her, and I guess I'm kind of interested in what she does next, for better or for worse. This show is in such a weird place, one I've never seen before with any show ever. It's stuck in between being on life support and finally getting its footing. The writing was actually okay for the majority of this season. The animation actually looked a little better this time around, especially in the final episode with the water physics. Like, holy shit, they actually put work into that. That looked really good. I don't know, it's a really weird mixed bag. Do I want the show to end? Yes. Without any hesitation, I say yes. But for the first time since this show first started, it feels like things are actually happening. Things of consequence. For the first time since this show premiered over a year ago, I'm actually kind of interested in seeing what happens next. And I mean that unironically. It wasn't good, but it was better than I expected by a long shot. It took them 6 whole seasons to do it, but they made a season that was overall... Still not as good as the Abominable TV series. Yeah, I bet you didn't even know that show existed, did ya? Speaking of which...